Happy Monday, everybody. It's time once again for Daily Distinction. Really glad that you were here with us today. Hope you had a really great 4th of July weekend, and I hope everything is going great with you, and you're off to a good start to July since I don't know why. It seems like when there's a holiday like we had, it just seems like today is when we're kicking the month off for some reason, but really glad you're here. Mike, you're on a plane? Holy cow. That is amazing because I know there's no mountains in Tennessee that are 35,000 feet, right? So, oh my gosh, Mike, it's really great having you here on a flight. I've got to ask, Delta? Because Delta typically has the best Wi-Fi, at least from my experience. So I'm just curious who you're flying with. So really great to have you here. Thanks for watching. Hey, Dwayne, yes, it's just another manic Monday. Everything's going crazy, busy. Bonnie, how you doing? Hope things are great in Chicagoland and that you're doing well and, business is doing okay for you. And Ernest, it's always great to have you here from Lubbock. Really appreciate you being here. And Ernest, of course, is one of the great viewers and participators in our Ken and Glenn show. We had a terrific show last night. It was really a lot of fun. We talked about a whole lot of things, but particularly what independence means. And Independence Day. So it was great to be with Glenn Morshower and Ken Walls. And we had the Ken and Glenn show with a guy named Scott. So that was really great. And Ernest and many others of you that watch here on Daily Distinction happened to be there last night. So I really appreciate you participating in that as well. Scott, saw you last night. Always great to see you. Thank you for being here. And Sonia, always great to see you as well. Your favorite day of the week is Monday. I love that. Isn't it funny how so many times there's so many people that hate Mondays? Oh, I hate Mondays. Back to where and think of what we're doing. I think a lot of times your attitude is like a thermostat. It really is. You set your attitude much like you set a thermostat. And if you set your attitude for hating Mondays, it becomes the self-fulfilling prophecy. We talked about the Pygmalion effect on one of our earlier shows, and it becomes what you think about. Scott, it was so funny. I was flipping through and I saw those guys were still talking, and I thought, oh man, I ain't getting in the middle of this because I'll never get off of it if I jump back in there again. Yeah, the after show just went on and on. Those guys can go on and on and on. That's great. Well, I'm glad you were there. I have to report that my darling bride is just a little bit under the weather. So, of course, we're keeping our fingers crossed that, it's just a little bug or just something that she picked up and not, what so many people are dealing with. We're dealing with that right now. But, I mean, don't get me wrong, she's okay. I mean, just feeling a little bit under the weather. And that's why I, didn't jump back on as well. I was the chef. And let me tell you, I can make a mean cup of Campbell's chicken noodle soup, and I can carry that thing upstairs with crackers with the best of them. I want you to know. So I'm trying to be a good caregiver there. Yeah, that is the great thing about Monday. It is a fresh start. I'm glad sunny Monday there. It is a sunny Monday in Las Vegas, and I haven't looked at it. It was 102 last time I looked at it, 102 degrees. So pretty warm day. Ernest loves Mondays. Makes for the best week ever had. There you go. Are you ready for the best week of your life? Here we are. That's what we're talking about. Exactly. So one of the things that I talked about, by the way, before I forget, 2 big announcements are going to be coming this week. I'm really excited about. One is regarding our Ultimate Business Summit. You can't sign up for it yet. The website is being created, and because we're making so many changes with virtual, that's in the process. So you can't sign up for it yet, but just kind of how they do with a high school commencement or a wedding. It's just kind of a save the date. So save the date of August 13 and 14, because those are the dates of the Ultimate Business Summit. And if you get the VIP package, we'll start the night before with a little cocktail reception, virtual cocktail reception. We'll be everybody having fun and talking the night before together, but save the date because we're really excited about this year's program. It's really going to be terrific. So, and also another announcement about a new affiliation that's coming up, and that should be announced Wednesday. Was the latest I saw on that. So please stay tuned because some really good things. By the way, thank you for sharing. All of you that share this with your friends on Facebook. It is so appreciated. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for all of you that are watching on replay. I don't want you to ever think I forget about you as we talk with the folks who are on live. I really am grateful for all of you who watch on replay. So thank you for that. So one of the people that influenced me so much, and I was acquainted with, I couldn't say I was a friend. I didn't have enough encounters with him and to call him, I mean, I felt so friendly towards him. I wanted him to be a friend, but he had a gazillion of them. So I don't know that I qualified there. But Zig Ziglar was just one of the greats of all time. And Zig used to talk about attitude so much, as you know, if you followed Zig. And one of the things that he talked about so much is that we need a checkup from the neck up. I was out for my early morning walk this morning and had Jim Rohn I was listening to in my headphones. And he was talking about this as well. One of the things that Jim Rohn said, he said, "Wait, isn't it too bad that when we take our car in for a checkup, we couldn't go across the street and do an attitude checkup, do a mental checkup, get a tune up while our car is getting tuned up? Wouldn't that be the best?" So, oh, Ernest, you're the best. Thank you for sharing this twice. Oh, there you go. A good home cook there. See, that'll make everybody feel better right there, Sonia. That'll make everybody feel better. I love it. So Zig always used to say we need to check up from the neck up. We get our bodies checked up. We might hopefully do our annual physical to see how we're doing and where we are. And you know, it's a great concept. We pay so much attention, or at least we should, to our health. But what about how we think? Look, many of us are worried about our health right now, and rightfully so. That's why we're doing this, right? That's how we got started doing this, is when we were in, stay-at-home orders and all that kind of thing. And so many of us are worried about or concerned about it. I shouldn't have put worried there. I should have put concerned. It's not that we're afraid, but it is that we are cautious. It's that we're concerned about what's going on. By the way, a quick aside, if you follow my personal page on Facebook, a really interesting study came out from Goldman Sachs, and they are the financial firm. If you have an Apple Card, for example, that was issued through Goldman Sachs, their banking division. But they also do a lot of research in terms of finance. And so now we're talking about finance here. We're talking about economic numbers. We're not talking about politics or anything like that. But one of the things that they released this morning was a very interesting study that the states that are requiring the use of masks are recovering economically more rapidly than those that do not. Now, Goldman Sachs is just talking about the economy. They're not talking about politics. They are not talking about, epidemiology. They are not talking about the science of how anything is transmitted. They're just saying that when you look at the financial statistics, the states that are requiring mask use are rebounding economically quicker than those that do not. So, that's not a Democrat or Republican issue. That is not a whatever issue. It's just an issue that the conclusion from Goldman Sachs is that if you want the economy to grow, put on your mask. Sounds pretty simple to me, right? Hey, Carrie, it's so good to see you here. How you doing? You're one of the great, what's the right word? The great staples of our show on Sunday night. It's always good to see you here. Thank you for being here. Scott, good to see you. In the early days, had 4 sets of Zig tape series. We'll always play them in the car we're driving. Yes. Oh, you met him once at his house the night before one of his epic. How cool is that? Oh, man, that is awesome. It's so funny, too, Scott, when I'm listening, as I'm walking, I listen to Audible, and I'll listen to Zig or Jim Rohn or somebody when I'm out walking in the morning. And one of the things that always strikes me is how technology has changed, because on some of them, it'll say, turn the cassette over to side 2. Right? I think about how we used to listen to those in their car and all the kind of things. Yeah, you're exactly right. When someone gets a college degree, there's very little time spent on attitude building. Yeah, Jerry, I've made this point about the customer experience in business school and in medical school is that we don't get that. And you're exactly right. We ought to be getting that in elementary school. We ought to be getting that in high school. You're exactly right, Jerry. I mean, the fact that we can have control over our attitude seems so basic and simple to those of us that get it. But for those that don't, it's like they don't believe you when you say that. It's like they want to confront you about that. So yeah, they're right, Sonia and Ernest. Yeah, keep them asking. There you go. Hey, Tim, great to see you. By the way, I signed up for the Facebook group that you've got. And Ken Wall's in the house, everybody. Hey, I just got a report, Ken, that you guys talked for 3.5 hours after I left last night. the Ken and Glenn show without a guy named Scott, I guess it was. So, but we're rightfully worried about our health. And I'm not saying or. This is not an either or situation. And as we worry about our health with our checkup there, we also ought to be worried about our health from the neck up. We ought to be worried about our health in terms of an attitude. We ought to be worried about our health in terms of everything that goes on there. By the way, one of the other things I'm listening to right now is Dr. Daniel Amen. Now it's spelled Amen, or at least that's how we pronounce it at home, but it's Dr. Daniel Amen. And it's on the brain. If you get a chance to listen to any of his, it's absolutely fascinating. In terms of, he's a psychiatrist, but he is a medical doctor, but he specializes in the brain. And one of the things that he mentioned, and it's so obvious once you hear it, but so if you go to counseling, whether it's a psychologist or a psychiatrist, you go to counseling and they talk to you. But they never do a scan of your brain to make certain that it's healthy. Could you imagine an oncologist operating on your cancer that hadn't done an MRI to locate the tumor? Could you imagine a cardiologist that didn't do some type of heart catheterization or something to determine the health of your heart? But yet, when people deal with our brains, they seldom do that. And so he does scans of brains, and it's absolutely fascinating in terms of what we can do. There's his book is called Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. It's really, really fascinating on that. And so we worry about our health, rightfully so. And we should also worry about how we set our attitude. So I'd like to give you 5 things that you could do every day to improve your attitude and make it consistently better. Not saying you're not going to have down days. I have them, you have them. I get it, right? And particularly in this time of challenge and change and where things are concerning and scary, it's really challenging many times to maintain a high level of attitude. But there are things that we can do to improve our attitude. And I've got 5 that we can do every single day. I try to practice all 5 of these every single day. And I hope they help you to maintain a better attitude. Here's the first one. Read, and I should put or listen to, or maybe and listen to, read and listen to something positive every day. I don't mean necessarily a cat picture. I mean something like Dr. Amen talking about changing your brain and change your life, or like Scott Cooksey was pointing out, an old Zig Ziglar recording or a Jim Rohn recording. By the way, if you'd like to get one free, just go to distinctionnation.com. Didn't mean for this to be a plug, but if you're looking for something to listen to, you can go to distinctionnation.com, sign up. We're going to be taking this down very soon, and you're not going to have too much longer to get the free 14-day audio program. That's part of what we wanted to do to launch Distinction, Daily Distinction, is do this through Distinction Nation. So you go there and you don't have to buy it. You can download it. It's a 14-day audio program. You just listen to one little snippet every day for 14 days. At the end of that, you do the exercises with it. At the end of that, you have your goals, your priorities, your actions. All of that are in alignment, and it helps you create personal distinction. So go to distinctionnation.com. If you're looking for something to read or listen to positive every day, you can, of course, find that with any of the Jim Rohn programs, anything else that you like. Yeah, your tune up when you're singing in the shower does it, right? Whatever it takes. Yes, absolutely. Change those, kid. You're so right. You change yourself. When we work on this, we can make it work. Oh, I appreciate that. See, I didn't even say that. You beat me to it. I should have said, or take time every day for daily distinction. There you go. that's a self-serving plug, but I'm glad you made it there, Dwayne. Yeah, find something that you can read. Publish something positive daily. Yeah, there you go, Jerry. I mean, I have noticed, and Tammy has talked about this in terms of the consistency of being positive has improved with me since I started doing these. So I guess it's my way of saying, I need to hear this as much as I appreciate saying it to you. Right? I mean, it's part of what we're all going to work on. Ken's going to buy a copy of that book, Iconic. You've heard some good things. Yeah, it's been me talking about it, Ken. I think. See there, there it is, Iconic, right there. Yeah, it's available at Amazon near you. Thanks for the plug. So read something, listen to something positive every day. I'll pick up on what Jerry said. Maybe post something. Post something. There's enough negativity on social media without us contributing to it. Why not post something good every day? Here's the second. Practice gratitude. Maybe it's a gratitude journal. Maybe it's that you make in your daily planning every day just to send a note to one person. What if you sent a note every day to one different person every day, but just picked out somebody and say, hey, man, I was thinking of you and just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate you. How would that impact them? But even more importantly, how would it impact you? If you were telling people every day how much you appreciate them. Practice gratitude. I think that's one of the things that I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, but it's one of the things that concerns me about what's happening now in our country is that we have so much to be grateful for. And being grateful doesn't mean that everything is perfect. I mean, I have known and was married to and have been around people facing terminal illnesses who would still go outside and enjoy the sunshine and be grateful for that day. There are things that need to be fixed in our country and in our culture and in everything that we need to do. But that doesn't mean that we still can't practice gratitude for what we have. I saw someone saying that we shouldn't celebrate 4th of July anymore. Somebody tweeted me this. That we shouldn't celebrate 4th of July anymore because all it does is promote the reprehensible system of the United States. And again, I don't mean this from a political red state, blue state thing. I don't mean this in terms of who you ought to vote for or anything like that. But I think that is a prime example of the negativity that we have to be so careful of right now. It doesn't, it's not either or, right? It's not that if you express gratitude, it doesn't necessarily mean that you think everything is right any more than a terminal cancer patient enjoying the sunshine means that they're cured. But what we have to do is, I think when we appreciate things, we tend to them a little more intensely, don't you? I mean, look at a field that somebody that doesn't care for, what happens to that field as opposed to the field that the farmer tends. There's the old joke, Zig used to tell it, Jim Rohn used to tell it, Charlie Jarvis, a great speaker, used to tell it. And it's the new minister is driving down the country road and he sees a farmer and he wants to impress the farmer. So he gets out of the car and he says, hey, Mr. Farmer, I'm the new minister. Sure is a beautiful field that you and the Lord have. And the farmer says, man, you should have seen it when the Lord had it all to himself. I love that story because, the things that we tend are the things that tend to improve. And when we appreciate things, it should mean anyway, that we want to work harder to make it right. And so when we express our appreciation, I think that it doesn't mean that we don't want things to improve. I mean, good grief, you love your kids. What do you want? You want the best for them. You want them to improve. It doesn't mean because you appreciate them, you don't care what they do or you want them to fail. So we have to combine that appreciation with a healthy effort to improve things and to make things right. Charles, don't ever say the late Charles Coachman. You might say the tardy Charles Coachman, but it scares me to death if you say the late Charles Coachman. But you're right. Better late than never. I'm glad you were here. Lisa, what a great point. Gratitude is the healthiest of all human emotions. How could you argue with that? That is just fantastic. Oh, Jerry, I got to catch up on that. I will like it. I absolutely will do that. Sonia, yes. Send birthday. Shelly talks about that all the time. Sonia, you are so great at doing that, expressing that appreciation. Alan, what a great point. Right? I mean, the border, people for century have not said, man, if only I can work and slave and practice and get better so I can make it to the Czech Republic. Right? I mean, people want to work here. And you're right. We have does see and there's Alan. I think you've identified too one of the key problems, which is loving what's going on and appreciating what's going on doesn't mean you don't want it to improve and get better and solve the problems. It means that you love it, and so you should be the ones that are, working hardest to make that happen. Oh, Mark, you're too kind. I appreciate that. You were so nice. That's very kind. Well, there you go, Ken. So practice gratitude. Here's something else I want to suggest that you do, and this is not frivolous, I promise. Watch something funny every day. Seriously. Watch something funny. Tammy and I have gotten into, over this stay-at-home period, we've kind of gotten into, as many of we've talked about this before, many of us have, in terms of binging on Facebook, or on Netflix and Apple TV. Oh my gosh, we've seen Defending Jacob is so good, and we've watched so many good shows. And I'm about halfway through The Mandalorian on Disney, and I like Star Wars. I've never been one of these Star Wars nuts, but Werner Herzog, the guy that I was that directed the movie I was in, he plays a character in The Mandalorian. And so I had to see him, because I know him, and watch that. It was so cool. But one of the things we've started doing is to make certain that we don't sit and watch Ozark, right, or watch Defending Jacob, or these really dramatic shows, and not have a break. You got to have a break. So we will watch a couple episodes of The Office, or we'll watch Family Guy, or we'll watch something that makes us laugh, because you got to have that as a part of every day. Watch something funny every single day. Got a lot of laughs out of the Ken and Glenn show with a guy named Scott. You should do the 90. Oh, Bruce, don't tempt those guys. They would be all over that. That is so good. Hey, Mike, what a kind remembrance. Look at that. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thanks for, we've talked about FFA many times here. It changed my life. It's everything. It made everything in my life possible. You're right. Those who hate the current system aren't lining up to leave, right? And what I hope they do is to line up to make it better, and I hope they can do it with a sense of humor. And Cheryl, you're right. The humor can change your attitude. It can change someone else's. I haven't seen that one, Ernest. I've got to give that a try. It's on YouTube. Mrs. Brown's Boys, Unfiltered Irish Humor. I like the British. Matter of fact, I was flipping channels last night. I know that's hard to believe. But Tammy wasn't feeling good, so we were flipping channels, and There's Something About Mary was on, and there are two movies. If I'm flipping and they're on, I'm done. I mean, I'm just done. I can't change the channel. I can't get up. It paralyzes me. And the two are There's Something About Mary and Tombstone. If those two are on, I'm absolutely done. I can't move, right? So Something About Mary was on. And so what was his name in the movie? I'm just drawing a blank. But the guy that, had the crutches and pretended like he was crippled and wasn't, right? It was just Lee Evans, I think is his name. I didn't realize he is a famous British comedian. He is like incredibly famous in the UK. And he's even he like sold out the O2 Arena, which it'd be like selling out Madison Square Garden for like 5 nights. I sold it out. So I need to track down some of his comedy. I didn't realize that that was it. You like that, kid? It's one of those movies that just because the Birdcage. There you go, Scott. What another fabulous movie. There you go, Charles. That's good. Oh, Irish humor makes British humor look tame. I didn't know that, Ernest. Oh my gosh, I've seen the other guys. That's a funny one. Hey, Alan, good to see you. Tucker, yeah, you bet. Is a good one. Hey, Karen Buxman providing humor, Facebook Live every day. I didn't know that, Kathy. Karen Buxman is hilarious, and good to see you. Little, okay, all right, I'll check it out, Mark. That is so good. I was always a Monty Python fan. They just made me cry. They were so funny. So, Kit, it is so funny you say that. Tammy is in bed right now because, as I was saying, she doesn't feel good, and she is watching Mr. Bean as we speak. That's what she was watching when I checked up on her. So we're trying to practice what we preach here. Watch something funny. Here's the next thing. Identify your negativity. You've heard me say that one of the ways that you deal with worry is, first of all, to write it down. And I'm going to suggest the same thing about your negativity. What are some of the things that you are negative about? Because when we write it down, then we can, it kind of stops that process. Part of the reason our attitudes have difficult times changing, have you ever noticed they spiral? If I start out in kind of a bad attitude, unless I do something about it, I end up in a really bad attitude. Because unless you stop it, unless you check it, it will continue to spiral and continue to descend. So when you identify the negativity, it will help you to deal with it. Look, if it wasn't for the night, we wouldn't know and appreciate the sunshine. If it wasn't for what was negative, we wouldn't appreciate the positive. One of the things I heard Jim Rohn said this morning, he said, as it says in ancient script, there is a time to laugh and just keep on laughing once you get there, right? Wrong, of course. It says there's a time to laugh and a time to cry. There's some people, I mean, how would you connect with some people if you weren't able to cry with them, weren't able to connect with them? What we have to do is to understand that positive attitude doesn't mean that you never have negative thoughts. It doesn't mean that you never have a bad attitude. It means that you control it. And one of the ways that you do that is to identify your negativity. Oh, Charles, there's a couple more. I probably should have included those on my list. Oh my gosh. And Glenn, yeah, Richard Pryor. Oh, one of the greats. Mel Brooks, they asked Mel Brooks, could Blazing Saddles be made today? And he said, no, absolutely not. The sensibility was different. But he said, here's the other reason it couldn't be made today. The part that people would find offensive today was written by Richard Pryor. And he would be the one standing up saying, no, we need to laugh. Well, as Jeff says right here, laughter is good therapy. That's on it. So identify your negativity. Here's the fifth and final one. You probably guessed this one. You knew this was coming. That's associate with positive people. If you're around negative people all the time, it's going to be almost impossible for you to stay positive. And what's the old joke? The psychologist asked the woman, in the morning, do you wake up grumpy? And she said, no, usually I let him sleep. We got to do all that we can do, but I'm bummed, right? Yes, exactly, rimshot. We got to do all that we can do to associate with positive people. That's part of the reason I think we enjoy being here today, because, when we have daily distinction, we are positive folks. We are talking to each other, being positive about this. So associate with positive people. It's one of the ways that you can stay positive. Look, it doesn't mean that you give somebody a phone call and say, hey, Jim, you're a little too negative. I got to cut you off. It's just that you ease back. You find your way to associate with positive people. And by the way, during the time that we can't be together, like you're not meeting at bars or restaurants the way you used to, one of the ways you can associate with positive people is to do things like this. And to make certain that when you're on social media, you don't get caught up in that spiral of argument, and all of that can happen. Hey, Ernest, good for you. That's part of, wouldn't that be a great goal? My goal is to get rid of one negative person a day. So that is absolutely critical. One last thought for you before we go. I think attitude is like a muscle, and positive attitude is really like a muscle. And whether we like it or not, what happens is the more that we exercise a muscle, the stronger and more reliable it becomes. And so we shouldn't expect to immediately flip a switch and have a positive attitude, just like we don't expect that if I do one push-up, I'm going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's developed. That strength of attitude is developed over a period of time. But guess what? You can get stronger today. And you can start today. And you can make it happen today. It's just making the choice to do it. Kid, I can't tell you how much that means to me. Thank you so much. It's my privilege. I hope it's a benefit. Hey, Scott, I'll certainly do that. Thank you for saying that. So, hey, that's all for us for today on Daily Distinction. Hey, let me hit these real quick one more time before we're out of here. One is read something positive every day. Practice gratitude every day. Watch something funny every day and have a good laugh. Identify your negativity and do what you can to work on it, eliminate it, or deal with it, and associate with positive people. When we do those things, I promise the results of your checkup from the neck up are going to be really, really good. Hey, Robin, my friend, I love that. Happy, mad, glad, or sad? It's your choice. Which one you going to pick? You are so right, my friend. Hey, I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. We got some big announcements coming this week on the Ultimate Business Summit, and also another one, a new affiliation I'm excited about to tell you about. So that's coming later this week. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here. It means the world to me that you take time to do this. I'll see you tomorrow on Daily Distinction.